right. And this one I get to kick my feet up in because I'm good on this one. Let's jump into our next one. We're going to put here, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks, another Star Trek cartoon. And let's go. Let's tell us how you feel about this one, Jaron. Let's start off with you for season 2. Sorry, we're talking about season 2.
Yeah. All right. So season 2. I think if season 1 and season 2, if I look at them kind of separate from each other, and then I kind of evaluate what they're doing, I like where they're going with it. It feels like they start the season off with something a little impactful, and then they have a lot of fun mid-season. They just kind of go off the rails a little bit and tell the most fan servicey kind of fun stories that they can as fans of Star Trek. And then they always seem to wrap up the seasons by chucking just a little bit of drama in there and kind of reminding you that this is still Trek. And I think they do the right measurement of that. I don't think it's overly goofy or overly dramatic. I think it's balanced exceptionally well if you look at it as a season as a whole. The characters are growing on me. I like that the fact that they just brought Shax back in the second season, and they're like, oh yeah, people that die come back all the time.
Like, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't ask him about it.
Don't ask him about it. Like, it's just they fire shots at TV tropes, at Star Trek, its history, its lore. I started looking up some of the videos that were like, because there were some things that I was like, I'm a big Trek fan, and I don't know that reference. It turns out all the references I don't know are ridiculous references to that TOS animated season.
Yeah.
Apparently those motherfuckers were doing some shrooms or something when they were writing that shit and just having a blast too. So
did Jaron freeze? Jaron's frozen. Is Jaron frozen to you?
But yeah, so
he's not frozen anymore.
Yep. Anything, yeah, I absolutely love this season. I like that this series does the thing that not real Star Trek, that the live action Star Trek does, where it affords the ships the reverence that they deserve. Leaving space dock or something like that, you're going to see like the slow motion, slow pan shot of the ships, maybe with backlit by a sun or something, that really just kind of show, the majesty of these massive vessels. So yeah, I love Lower Decks. I think it's great. And I love the energy that it brings. It's almost as good as Orville. I think it's aiming to be at Orville's level, but it's just a little more silly than Orville and officially licensed Star Trek. So
for everybody out there who don't watch the show regularly, him saying it's almost as good as Orville is like saying it's, as good as the sun or something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
He's been hyping up Orville this entire time when we're talking about Star Trek. Well, the best Star Trek show is Orville, actually.
Best Star Trek on television, Orville.
All right, Jason, what are your thoughts on Lower Deck season 2?
Well, from my top 3, I love this show. This season is better than the last season. It does more of the same, but just a tad bit better from what they were doing last season. There's this. The cool thing about this show is that, unlike the newer shows like Discovery or Picard, where they have this overarching narrative they're trying to tell, this one is very much more episodic. Like old Trek was, where you just oh, it's a new day and a new adventure, but it still has an arc to it. It's just told in an episodic manner. So, for example, and I'm going to get into spoiler alerts here in 3, 2, 1. There is this whole entire sort of background story about the Pakleds trying to gain power and trying to become a force. And if you don't know about the Pakleds, they're the dumbest of species out there. They are generally just looked down upon as, not a threat. And they pay this off that, there's this whole conspiracy going on about this Pakled threat, and they pay this off at the very end of the season in such a wow, shocking kind of fashion. And I thought that was really, really cool. Yeah. The last episode of the season is probably what made me stand up and salute and clap my hands and cheer. Firstly, the animation, normally the character animation is very cartoony, but when they go to the ships and stuff, it is phenomenal. It is spectacular. As Jared said, it really does show the scale and scope of these ships. Even though like the Cerritos is a smaller class ship, it's still in my mind kind of majestic when you watch it float out of space dock. It is so cool. Another thing that they showed in this series that I thought was hilarious, especially at this last episode, they finally showed cetacean ops. And for all you Trek fans out there or people who don't know, on starships, there are whole decks dedicated to dolphins and whales because they can join Starfleet and be a part of the Star Trek crew. And this was supposed to be shown in the original TNG, but of course, they didn't have the budget to do that, so they never did it. But it's always been like hinted to, and then finally we get to see two beluga whale officers who are very horny for Rutherford, who want him to come and take off his shirt and come and swim with them. And like, as dolphins and whales go, that's pretty much on brand for them.
That's
so I chuckled furiously at that scene. It was so great. But yeah, if you are a Star Trek fan, if you like Star Trek, you should definitely be watching this show. It is good. It is good.
I loved when Boimler almost drowned, and they were giving all the bad advice that fish splash water, keep him wet.
He's drying out. His blowhole is blocked.
They were giving all this like.
Mine to be quick as a guy who's not a Star Trek fan. I thought it was funny. I didn't get all the inside jokes, which we alluded to at the beginning of this, but as a person who isn't in the lore, like, it's enjoyable to watch because you still get the comedic timing, you still get the situational comedy of it, and it's very well written. Again, the extreme enjoyment that you guys are having is because you guys have the references and etc. So I mean, even as a guy who doesn't get that, it's an enjoyable watch. Like, it's kind of like, and I know you mentioned the dawning of the sun with the Orville. It's kind of like even like that with me with Lower Decks, where the Orville is spoofing in a respectful way Star Trek stuff that I don't get, but because it's so well written, I can still ride with it. So again, I'm here for it, man. I mean, no, it's definitely it's a good show. I laughed a couple of times out loud on a couple of scenes, especially when you talk about with the whale stuff. Like, and I didn't get like the reference to it. Only thing I could think of was like, wasn't one of the movies about saving some whales or something?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I got the reference of something like that because I saw that movie. But other than that, I'm like, this is still hilarious because, like Jason said, whales and dolphins like are some of the few mammals that just because they like sex like human beings. So it was great to have them being like sexual animals like in real life. So I thought that was dope too. But yeah, I'm here for it.
They are so thirsty.
For 100%. Let's go ahead and jump right into our rankings. Jaren, what would you rank Lower Decks?
Oh, this is definitely a solid 4.5. If you have even a little bit of love for Star Trek, this is gonna, like Jason was saying, you don't have to know everything about it to just enjoy the show. It's well written. Especially in the second season, I feel like the voice actors kind of have settled into their roles a little bit better, and they have it's either the audio editors are making their back and forth more snappy, or they're just getting used to each other. But yeah, comedic timing is on point. It's just a fun show. Highly recommend. 4.5.
All right, Jason.
I'm going to do you one better, Jared. I'm going to go 5 out of 5. As a Trek fan, if you're a Trek fan, you got to be watching the show. It's just plain and simple. Everybody else, it's still really enjoyable. So 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I'm there. I would probably just off the pure enjoyment I have of it as a sci-fi show. I mean, I rank this show up there with the likes of Futurama, which I think is probably the best version of this that's been done by far. So if I'm giving Futurama like a 5, I'm definitely giving this like a 4. And the only reason it doesn't get my rest of it is because I don't understand the inside humor. With Futurama, I didn't need to understand a whole universe to get it. It just kind of plays on itself. So that's the only reason I give it a point negative. That's a me issue, not the show's issue. So it's literally
Futurama also made a lot of Star Trek references too.
Yeah, it did.